Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Jeremy Tucker, Superintendent of Liberty Public Schools, and starting off our first of several Coffee with the Community series as we enter into the 2020-2021 school year. Here in our District Administration Center Board of Education room, where we had our board meeting earlier this month, and really want to begin by expressing a tremendous amount of gratitude to the 7 members that serve on our Board of Education. We've had many years of strong board member service to our children in our community, and we want to thank them for their time and effort over the course of the last several months as we've navigated a pandemic, walked through the many plans that have brought us to where we're at today with school being in session for nearly 13,000 of our learners. So again, thank you to our Board of Education. What we wanted to do during this Coffee with the Community is to provide you with a little bit of a district update, provide you some information as it relates to our system, our enrollment, followed up with a little highlight from our Return to Learn plans, of which most of you are already familiar with as we've resumed school. And then lastly, round out with strategic planning and facilities update as it relates to this school year. One of the things that people are always interested in is our district at a glance, and so as you can see by this graphic, information pertaining to our school district from enrollment to our district layout, total number of schools, where our students reside, be it Kansas City, Liberty, or other addresses throughout the county area that are part of our footprint, total number of transportation miles covered and routes that we have, composition of our staff, both on the support staff side as well as the certified side. Appreciate all of our teachers, administrators, support staff, operations staff for all of their time and energy that they've spent over the last several months to get us off to a good start for this school year. You also see information pertaining to our demographic composition by ethnicity and additional information tied to free and reduced lunch percentages, where our graduates end up as far as graduating from high school and then on to attending a 2 or 4 year college, and finalizing this graphic with some information as it relates to our budget and kind of that composition. This is dated as of last year, so we're in the process of updating this and look forward to bringing an updated graphic to you for your review. Information that our community is always interested in is what's happening with our growth and our enrollment across our community and across our schools. And so as of the end of August, as reflected on this slide, you can see where the overall LPS enrollment stands at 12,898. That is in pre-K all the way through grades 12. We were curious over the course of the last several months what that might look like to our system as we navigate the pandemic, as we transition students both face-to-face and to Liberty Virtual School, what that would impact and how that might impact our overall enrollment. As of this time, we continue to remain steady, and we'll continue to watch and monitor our enrollment and demographic projections in the weeks and months ahead. As mentioned, you're all familiar by now with our LPS Return to Learn plan. Planning and looking at a variety of scenarios really started back in March as we were beginning to hear about the coronavirus and the impending school closure for a period of time and then for the remainder of the fourth quarter. And since then, we've been working through a variety of scenarios, soliciting your input through surveys, feedback along the way to be able to get ready to close out a school year as we planned for that, and then pivot to virtual summer school in the month of June. What fall activities and fine arts opportunities might look like as we brought students and coaches and sponsors back together even during the summer to prepare for the school year. But then also as we thought about piloting face-to-face instruction during a pandemic during the month of July and a pilot program tied to our summer school offerings. And then finally culminating in our LPS Return to Learn plan as we think about opening schools this fall. We continue to walk through a variety of scenarios, but wanted to draw your attention to our district website and that contains all of the information and updates and progress as it relates to a variety of scenario plans that we've had along the way. One of the early decisions that we made was to incorporate the Let's Talk portal, as you see on your screen to the far right. in which you're able to connect with us, send us a message, send us your question, and we look to try to turn that around quickly. That has been incredibly popular in terms of a vehicle of people being able to ask their questions, us being able to respond, provide answers, but then also trap that dialogue within a frequently asked question structure. So in our website, you have the opportunity to view all things tied to our LPS Return to Learn. And so here's a screenshot of what that looks like as it relates to the variety of documents and information that is available for both our students, our parents, families, but then also our Liberty Public Schools employees. This document should look familiar, as it is our formal Liberty Public Schools Return to Learn plan. The first iteration of this was adopted on July 14th as we brought it to our Board of Education for consideration, but then quickly thereafter it was being updated as we looked to, rather than starting school 5 days a week face-to-face, incorporating a hybrid approach at our secondary level. The important piece here is the degree of dialogue, conversations, interactions, feedback that we've received from our community, be it your participation in the survey, in focus group environments, in Zoom meetings, just a variety of vehicles of which we've wanted to hear from you. We want to continue to do that, and so be on the lookout for additional opportunities to provide feedback on how things are going, whether your child is attending our schools face-to-face, at the elementary level full-time, or a secondary in a hybrid structure, or perhaps your children are enrolled in Liberty Virtual School. We want to continue to improve our processes and approaches as we navigate the challenges ahead. One of the most critical pieces to our Return to Learn plan is the learning schedule. And so reflected on this graphic on a weekly basis, whether your children are in elementary school where they're attending face-to-face Monday through Friday, or particularly at grades 6 through 12, which this reflects on this particular graphic, where they're a hybrid schedule. Wednesdays, everyone being virtual and checking in with their classrooms and their teachers alike. We appreciate our teachers that have wrapped their head around what school would look like during the course of a pandemic to make this successful. Looking ahead, a couple things to anticipate is scenario planning of the district as to when and how we're able to move back to more face-to-face days and engagement opportunities for our students across all grade levels, but really at the secondary level. The other scenario that we're working toward is contact tracing the performance of the virus across our schools, how we navigate that, how we share that information publicly. So be on the lookout for a dashboard to again be posted on our district website. The other scenario, in anticipating the weeks and months ahead, would be how we navigate outbreaks. Should we see pockets of the coronavirus within grade levels or classrooms or within specific schools or even the entire district? Working closely with Clay County Public Health Center, working with the Kansas City, Missouri Health Department, Mid-America Regional Council, which covers the Kansas City region, the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, as well as keeping apprised of changes to the Center for Disease Control guidance. Those are all areas that we're anticipating navigating in the weeks and months within this school year. We also know that at some point there will be a vaccine available to hopefully our entire nation and world. And so what does that look like as we navigate a vaccine being brought forward, vaccine clinics across our community, potentially utilizing our schools to be a resource in disseminating the vaccine across our community. So those are a few of the items that we're monitoring, having conversations about as we continue to move forward. I wanted to shift a little bit away from COVID-19 and speak to you about our Liberty Public Schools strategic plan. This work continues across our district. Many of you will recall and have participated in strategic planning sessions and conversations over really the last 2 years that culminated in these two documents: our Liberty Public Schools graduate profile, a vivid vision document that we're in the process of revising given our pandemic and our new normal, and certainly the strategic plan that incorporates about 22 different areas of focus, and we'll speak to that in just a moment. The first piece that we want to lead with is our Liberty Public Schools graduate profile that was developed through your input from students, from staff, from parents, from the business community, in and around the skills and dispositions that we want every student to possess upon graduation from high school. Those skills and dispositions fall into 5 different categories: academic, cultural, personal, professional, and entrepreneurial. And they're all relatively explanatory, but we've gone ahead and we've provided a definition of what we mean by each, followed by 5 or 6 different skills and dispositions within each of those key areas. So for example, with the academic side, you can see the definition followed by the skills of being a critical thinker, analytical, curiosity, problem solver, goal-oriented. So as you navigate that graduate profile all the way down to entrepreneurial skills, you can see that we want to begin early at the elementary age, followed by the middle level, but then also at the high school level, that culminates in students acquiring those skills and dispositions. It's not necessarily that we want every student to be an entrepreneur, but at the same time, we think there is value in having entrepreneurial skills like creativity, value in network appreciation, being strategic, being adaptable, but then at the same time having perseverance, as so many have demonstrated over the course of this pandemic. Our vivid vision then takes and kind of springboards toward our strategic plan that is really developed around 5 areas. Our strategic plan focuses on teaching and learning, professional growth, that for our employees, our administrators, our teachers, leadership, but then lastly, community. And as mentioned within that strategic plan, we have 22 plans that sit separate, or vision statements that have deliverables as well as specific action steps under each and every one of those. Among the topics that are created or that are captured there include competency-based learning, personalized learning, visible learning, partnerships throughout our community, real-world learning opportunities, the 4 C's, college and career pathways, experiential learning opportunities for our students across all schools, just to name a few of those key areas. As we shifted towards this type of a strategic plan, it was our desire for it to be centered in equity, but at the same time be flexible and agile enough for us to be able to adjust as months and years progress. That proved incredibly beneficial entering into the month of March and April and May as it relates to the pandemic, and that if we had not been thinking about agility and flexibility and pivoting when we need to pivot, we probably would not have had the mindset going into the pandemic that we had early on. Another thing that proved incredibly beneficial, as you'll recall, when it came to snow days, we were in the process of piloting and kind of actually used it one time last year, our virtual snow days, in which students and teachers engaged online in a virtual environment when school was canceled. Albeit we only utilized it one time, that set the stage for us to be successful in shifting to all of our students and all of our staff working remotely from home in a virtual learning environment. As you rethink strategic planning, you probably also need to reconsider how you measure your goals and your actions and your plans, which brings us to this next area of focus, and that is really around uncommon measures. As we think about measurement, traditionally in schools, we think about tests, we think about standardized exams at the end of the year or end-of-year assessments. And so what we wanted to do is to be able to look at measurement differently. And so as we think about uncommon measures tied to this new strategic plan in our district, it really is around 3 key areas. It's around the academic metrics, which we continue to focus on and want our students to do well on. But at the same time, we see increasing value in understanding their social emotional well-being, where they're at, how they're doing, their perceptions, their experiences, quantifying that, and then being able to respond accordingly if we see areas that we are doing well or areas that we are struggling, or more importantly, where our students are struggling, upon which we can surround them and support them. The last area tied to those uncommon metrics is really around real-world learning opportunities. And we've got that included in our strategic plan. We're partnering with other districts, with businesses, with the Kauffman Foundation and others around expanding real-world learning opportunities that result in a market value asset. So these first couple of screenshots that you see are on some of the traditional academic metrics that we have in place across our system. followed by some of the social emotional elements as we spoke about. Oftentimes, the best information that we get is straight from our students, and so we've incorporated a variety of social emotional learning surveys through Panorama that give us rich insights on how things are going and areas that we need to focus upon. In and around the area of real-world learning, as we expand those opportunities and provide students market value assets, they come in a variety of forms. Perhaps it's an internship experience through Northland CAPS, or perhaps a career preparatory experience through one of our career centers, or dual college, or dual college credit, or advanced placement credit. So there are a variety of ways in which students can attain market value assets. And so if you think of it in terms of a student crossing the stage at graduation, we want them to not only receive a diploma in hand, but we will also want them to be able to have at least one market value asset that then springboards them into whatever lies ahead, whether they pursue a 2 or 4 year college degree, whether they go straight into the workforce, whether they go into the armed services, or have additional internship experiences that then leads them into future career opportunities. So we're excited about trapping that information, how we're doing, and how we can grow that through the help of our college and career department, as well as our career navigators at both of our high schools. This work starts early. It's not just for high school students, but it starts as early as elementary and middle level as we start exposing students to career opportunities, identifying what their interests and passions are, and then build upon that as far as giving them real-world experiences at the earliest grade levels, culminating in those market value assets at the high school level upon graduation. All the while developing those skills and dispositions that we're aiming for within our graduate profile. So look forward to sharing more information in and around those efforts as we move forward and continue to increase those opportunities for our students. I wanted to shift then to a little bit of an update on our facilities master planning. As many of you have learned over the course of the last couple of years and been involved in, we continue to grow as a district. And so every few years we revisit facilities master planning that really begins with taking a sense of how we're performing as a community on our growth and population, starting with the demographic projection. We started that process earlier last spring and have put that on hold for the time being and are going to revisit it this fall in terms of seeing how we're performing as a community, the impact of the pandemic, that then would result in us identifying what our facilities needs are, prioritizing those needs, perhaps tackling some of those through our capital projects budget, or looking as to whether or not we need to bring something forward for our community's consideration as it relates to a tax issue. Most likely would be a no tax levy increase. So we'll continue to navigate that with the help of our Board of Education and bring that information forward to our community as we move forward. I did want to provide some screenshots or pictures for you as it relates to our last facilities master planning schedule and the no tax increase issue that was approved by our Board of Education, and so we're very grateful for that. But as you can see from the Early Childhood Center to some of our other campuses, be it at Manor Hill or Liberty Middle School, Heritage Middle School, Shoal Creek, Lewis and Clark, Franklin Elementary, we had a variety of projects that ranged from renovations to entrances as far as providing safe and secure entrances, classroom additions, as well as restroom renovations that were much appreciated and long overdue, all the way to library media centers and some renovations that occurred there within a couple of our campuses. Two of our larger projects are nearing completion. The additional wing at Liberty North High School is fully completed, and students are occupying that as of last January. And so we appreciate our taxpayers coming around and supporting our no tax increase bond issue to be able to provide that additional space at Liberty North High School. It is an open space, very flexible, with a variety of learning atmospheres of which our students are currently enjoying. Another one that was one of our larger projects is at Liberty High School. And you may not see this from the road, but if you were to go toward the back of Liberty High School, you'll see the Performing Arts Center addition. This picture is a little bit dated. It's actually further along than this, and students and teachers are already occupying that space. And so we look forward to revealing that, celebrating those spaces with you as we're able to open up more so to our community in the weeks and months ahead, depending on how we're navigating the virus. The last thing that I wanted to share with you in this Coffee with the Community is really our next steps. And so as we look at our financial standing from a budget standpoint related to facilities master planning, it starts with debt service and how we're able to continue to bring forward for consideration by our community no tax increase bond issues. And we're in good standing to be able to do that. Followed by, as I mentioned, demographic projections and how we're trending across our community, knowing that most of our students now reside in the city of Kansas City limits of our school district, with the remainder on the Liberty side. Developing a facilities master planning process to gauge and identify what those projects could be or what those facility needs are at each of our schools across our grade levels, and then culminating in prioritizing our projects that then we might bring forward for our community's consideration on a bond issue. So that really rounds out the facilities piece as far as an update for this school year as we move forward. I appreciate everyone taking time to connect for this Coffee with the Community. Would much rather be face-to-face with you, but appreciate this medium and being able to share a little bit about the district. Also would always extend to you the opportunity to connect should you have questions or recommendations, suggestions. We're always an open ear for you to be able to lean on. And look forward to connecting with you along the way.